And I would like to hand things over to Sue Glazer, who is over our student and family events, which are those 6 to 7 events that we offer throughout the year on the Abacus, Cane Class, the Braille Challenge, all regionally offered all over Florida. Today with the focus of the Abacus. So Sue, it's all for you.
Thank you, Tiffany. Hi, everyone. So I'm Sue Glazer, statewide educational specialist for the visually impaired. And like Tiffany said, I focus on our student and family events. And today I wanted to talk about what's up with the Abacus. So the Abacus has been just more and more on our radar these last few years with the American Printing House for the Blind starting what's called the Abacus-V. And feel like maybe there are just maybe some myths and misconceptions out there, and want to just increase awareness and remind folks that this is a really, really awesome tool that students can learn, that all of our students can learn, not just a specific population. So today we are going to talk about just some basic Abacus facts, benefits to math learners for using the Abacus. Want to go over APH's National Abacus-V and Florida's Regional Abacus-V and how we incorporate that in our state. And then just some things about what to do next. How do you get started? And as always, give lots and lots of resources because everybody learns differently. There are a lot of different ways to go about learning and teaching the Abacus. So before we jump right in, and thank you everybody for joining us. I love the last minute. So this is great to see there are more folks out there that are right there with me. So what are some things, just as teachers of students with visual impairments, that you've noticed? What are some challenges that your students who are visually impaired face when learning math? Or what are some challenges that you face when teaching math? So think about just some common barriers. What are some, and put those in the chat box. Remember to make sure it says to everyone. Just some barriers or things that make it difficult for teaching math to students with visual impairments. Anybody come across anything? So one of the first things I learned in school was, yes, concepts and curriculum are very visual. Time is always a barrier. Having enough time to do all the hands-on teaching and instructing. And I learned, like I was saying, that sometimes it's difficult to teach math to students if the teacher is not feeling really competent in the subject matter, in the material. And we did not go to school to be math teachers. So that should be, understandable. That could be a common factor as well. But definitely concepts are visual. Math is very visual. Finding the time to collaborate, definitely with a math teacher, getting all the materials ready in advance. But for the child who's visually impaired, just lacking those, lacking incidental learning. They're not picking things up as readily as their peers are that are not visually impaired. And math is so visual. Things can be written on the board and explained and described within a matter of seconds, as opposed to just hearing an auditory description or explanation of a math problem or concept. It's not going to get picked up as easily. So did you know just some things about the Abacus? Using an Abacus as a calculator has been shown to improve children's mental math capabilities. The origin of the Abacus is still debated, but it's believed to be at least about 2,000 years old. Similar counting frame objects have been used in ancient China and Babylonia. Let's see, the Abacus is still being used in some countries for calculations, like in India and China and Japan. Modern computer operating systems use a binary Abacus to read numbers. And we use an Abacus for students who are visually impaired. It's called the Cranmer Abacus. And that was based on the Japanese Abacus, which was called a soroban. In 1962, it was Terence V. or Tim Cranmer created this or designed that the Abacus have a felt backing behind it so that the beads, when they slide up and down, they can they'll stay put, so they're not falling back into the original placement. So that makes it easier for somebody who's visually impaired to use. They don't have to worry about the beads sliding out of position. So that's why we use what's called the Cranmer Abacus that we can order from APH. So the big question is, why the Abacus? Does anybody out there, I know there's not a huge group, but is anybody currently teaching the Abacus? And if you are, why are you? Or if you're not, why not? Do we have any Abacus teachers out there right now, or anyone learning the Abacus for their students? Does anyone think that the Abacus is just designed for students who are blind? That this is a tool for someone who's blind? All right, so we have a not using it but would like to. That's great. That's a good start. So something I feel like I learned going through school was that an Abacus was a tool for students who are blind if they're Braille readers. So that's why I put in my description that this is maybe a new perspective to an old tool. So that wasn't necessarily, I don't know if I just assumed that or if I heard that somewhere, but I just know that I've kind of always had that misconception that this is a tool for students who are blind. And Dr. Leanne Grelot from APH started her research on the Abacus, and we just, through conversations and in her developing the Abacus-V, it just became so obvious, like, oh, of course, students with low vision, all students who are visually impaired could benefit from the Abacus. All students with or without disabilities would benefit from using the Abacus. And it just seemed like just common sense. So that's why I also kind of wanted to do this webinar and just revitalize that conversation. We've got a few, haven't used it yet, but would like to, used it in the past. Haven't used it in a few years, planning to use it with a new student, use a beginner Cranmer Abacus with a first grader. Excellent. And then somebody says, used it with students who needed help with complex multi-number problems, such as multiplication and division. So there are definitely a lot of uses for it. But for all students, this is not just for children who are visually impaired, but those students are our focus, but helping to develop early math concepts, such as number sense, a one-to-one correspondence, number operations like adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing. On an Abacus, you can work on decimals and fractions. Tiffany wrote using it for higher level math. So if you're working on really complex math, it can be used to do the smaller calculations and to keep your place. It also helps with procedural fluency. So teaching children to be able to perform procedures flexibly, accurately, and efficiently when they don't have that pencil and paper where they can just jot things down and see how it's moving. The procedural fluency allows students to work through complex math equations with an accessible tool. And this is such an accessible tool. It's very tiny. I've seen articles before, just having math at their fingertips, being able to keep this tool in their pocket. One nice thing is it doesn't require batteries. You don't have to plug it in. You don't need the internet. You don't need a Bluetooth connection. This little Abacus is always going to do its job. Yes, low tech is a good thing. Depends on the tool. You need the right tool for the task. One thing that I just love about it is that it can be so much faster than traditional methods, even for somebody using a pencil and paper. But for, like I said, traditionally, I think Abacus instruction has been reserved for students who are blind. So we're going to look at this video. It's a very short video, but just gives you an example of somebody doing an addition problem on a Braille writer versus using an Abacus. So let's see how quickly one or the other goes.
Once learned, the Abacus is faster and much more portable than a Braille writer. Let's see an example comparing an addition problem on the Braille writer and the Abacus. Let's do 42 plus 76. As you can see, the abacus is already finished. The abacus is much more efficient. As you see on the Braille writer, we had to write the first number, go down a line, write the second number. Here's your line, and then go back up to read the original question to get the answer. And it was much slower than the abacus. The abacus.
Yeah, so that's a pretty cool illustration. The person using the abacus set the problem and added the second addend within seconds. Somebody doing that with pencil and paper, it's going to be pretty fast for sure, but they're not doing it that quickly. Did anybody do it in their head that quickly? Was that you, Tiffany?
Oh, no. I need an abacus now. I have really poor math skills, but I just wanted to share this, like one of the students that I had the most success with the abacus just struggled so much to like spatially set up our visual versions of math problems on a Braille writer. And when we went to learning the abacus and having that tool that's just set up so nicely under his hands, he was very much, you just saw like the light go off. He was like, oh, now I can multiply like multi-digit numbers, and I can do long division. And because the way that we sort of sometimes learn, and now there's so many ways to do these things in class, I understand, but for him it was just like, he was like, this is like made for me, you know. Anyway, I just wanted to share that. It was cool.
That's awesome. And kids are not going to use typically they're not going to use something if it's not helping them. And so for them to give that feedback, like this was made for me, like that's just, as a teacher too, that's just a really, you've done it right. You found the right tool, and they know this is going to make things easier for me. Another major barrier for our students with visual impairments, just that lack of incidental learning. Concepts of math are just not readily apparent through daily interactions like they are for kids who are not visually impaired. Just day-to-day, simple daily interactions. They get to they're seeing numbers in action. They're seeing quantities, they're seeing shapes, they can organize numbers, they can see patterns. They're seeing the symbols, they're seeing numbers written down. Numbers are being used everywhere. And so they're getting a lot, even before formal instruction begins, they're getting a lot of information about numbers. They're developing that number sense and that one-to-one correspondence just by watching. And so students, if they have low vision or if they're blind, they're not picking up those things incidentally. They're not learning it just from being around. So this is just one more way to give students with low vision and who are blind more access to something tangible, just hands-on. Traditional classroom tools are not always practical or accessible, especially for somebody with no vision. If they have very low vision, not seeing what's happening on the board, teachers will verbally describe what they're putting on the board, but being such a visual subject matter, it's so difficult, even for us as adults who have basic concepts and have grasped a lot of these mathematical skills and concepts. If I sit and listen to somebody just rattling off a problem verbally, I could not just answer it in my head. I'd have to write it down, or I have to at the very least visualize what it looks like. So I'm visualizing this problem set up, like Tiffany was saying, how it's spatially arranged. And then I would go through the steps. But in my head, I'm going through the steps of what I would do if it was on paper and pencil. And that's what the Abacus is here to do. It's to give that mental math ability so that students eventually doing all of these operations, physically moving the beads and adding numbers and taking away and setting and clearing and doing the synthesis, they're building those mental math skills in their head. So they're actually building those procedures, and they're using they might be using their fingers as they're going through it, or they might physically have to do it with the Abacus, but it eventually leads to mental math. And so this is going to give you an incredible illustration of what we're talking about. So like we said, in a lot of countries, India, China, Japan, students without disabilities. So all students are learning to use the abacus because it's such a valuable tool. So this is an Abacus-B competition in India, and I believe it was for elementary, maybe elementary middle-aged students. But it just shows you how quickly, I mean, you can see how quickly they're going through these problems. But as they start the competition, look at the pictures of the student or the videos of the students and watch their fingers. Their hands are moving around a lot. It looks like they're just waving them in the air, but their fingers are very, very purposeful. So watch this. Let me know what you think about what they're doing with their fingers and what that means. Let's see.
And more success in your life. All the best. Good morning, children.
The SIP program develops the child's concentration.
Okay, so thank you, Andrew. There were 7 to 12-year-olds all in that room, all taking the test at the same time. Did you see how they were mimicking the arm movements, and they were just copying what somebody at the front of the room was doing? Because they can see just like that. They picked up some of these skills and things they were asked to do to help warm up. So just another illustration, our students can't sit in a room like that and just follow along with one person. They need to have, they need something in front of them, hands-on. That's the perfect tool is the abacus, so that they can actually have that in their hands, manipulating these beads. What did you guys and girls notice about the finger movements of the students? Some of them were using their abacus. You could see the beads flying, but some of them weren't even touching the beads. How come? Anybody notice it wasn't at the very beginning? It did look like an air, an air abacus. Anybody play air guitar? You can also do air abacus. So what were they doing? Why were they were moving their fingers around so fast in the air or on their table? A chance to respond. And so you could tell it was different ages. Some of the kids were on their abacuses and they were moving them fast, fast, fast. Some of them, the abacus was off to the side. They weren't even touching it. Yes, mental math, Valeria, mental math with the abacus. So they were going through those movements. They didn't have to be touching the abacus, but because they learned the processes of how to add, how to, yes, definitely look like, how to move the beads, how to do exchanges, and whatever operations they were asked to do, they knew how to do those on the abacus. So they didn't physically need the abacus under their fingers. They're just doing the movements. And that's the mental math. They're doing it in their head. And yeah, they were using their hands instead of the beads. They were just moving air beads. They were pretending to move the beads, but it's just building the foundation, starting with the abacus, starting with that tangible object. It was giving them that foundation so that they could eventually phase out of that. But they still have the processes in their heads. They know how to do these operations and they know how to do them quickly, which is so, so impressive. So at our Florida Abacus Bee competitions, we don't quite have that many children participating, but one day we are going to have a room filled that big with that many kids. So the abacus is comparable to paper and pencil for students who can see. It's allowing them to keep track of their numbers while they're doing computations, especially if they're doing higher level math. If it's not considered a calculator, that's why this is an allowable accommodation for testing, statewide testing. It's not a calculator. It just allows them to manipulate beads. They still have to do the calculations. And it's definitely, you can see it in action. It's increasing students' mental math abilities because it's putting those movements into their heads. It's just such a valuable tool and so simple. The APH, so Dr. Leanne Grelot, she created the APH Abacus Bee. It's a fun and engaging competition designed to ignite a passion for mathematics in students who are blind or have low vision. By allowing the use of various formats like print, braille, UEB math, or Nemeth code in the UEB context, the competition ensures that participants can use methods that suit their individual learning styles. The APH Abacus Bee encourages the use of mental math and abacus skills, unlocking students' full mathematical potential. To learn more, check out Calculating Confidence article. So I put some resources in here that you can use to either learn more for yourself, or this might be something helpful that you can share with parents, share with math teachers, share with administrators, anyone that you need to help them understand the importance of using this tool. So it talks about as STEM careers become more prevalent in the world, it's more necessary than ever to provide students with a solid foundation of skills that will support them. APH recognizes the importance of math within STEM curriculum and realizes that it can often be overlooked for students who are blind or have low vision. There are a variety of traditional learning methods used to practice math skills, such as calculators or the use of pencil and paper, but one device has been utilized for thousands of years, and that's the abacus. And so it just goes on to reiterate that they're developing math concepts and number operations, and the procedural fluency that we talked about. So this could be something nice just to share with families or other teachers so that they can just see like what's up with the abacus. Thank you, Tiffany, for putting that link in the chat box. Oops. Here we go. So these are students, some Florida students that participated at the most recent Abacus Bee finals in Louisville, Kentucky. So we had 9 students from Florida that qualified from last school year's regional competition. And only 7 students of those 9 were able to attend, but they just had a great time. They worked really hard. they were very spoiled and recognized for making it that far. There were, I believe, 7 other states that had a regional Abacus-V competition. And so it was 31 students that wound up making it to the that attended the finals. It was really amazing. APH has a wonderful grant and sponsorship, so they were able to provide airfare or travel expenses for the student and a parent to go to Louisville, Kentucky, and stay for 2 or 3 nights at the conference hotel. And there were workshops, parent workshops, there was an exhibit, hands-on science activities and demonstrations in all areas of STEM, lots of products and things that were accessible for students related to STEM. And a lot of them came with their families. And they just had a great time. I think 5 of our students wound up placing. And not all of them, it's a good question, not all of them use an abacus to compete. So like you saw in the video, some of the students had the abacus off to the side. So some of the students that were participating in this competition, they were not using the abacus. At one point, maybe they learned math by using it, but they're using their some of them were using just mental math skills. And that's why we started calling our regional the Florida Abacus Math Bee, because we want people to know kids don't have to come here. They're not going to be forced to sit and use an abacus to answer problems. They can use mental math, they can use finger math. It really is a math competition, but we are trying to just promote the use of the abacus as a valuable tool that can help them excel and go even further beyond. The students pictured on the left are 3 students in the what's called the the flyers category. So they were competing with 3 other students in that room. The picture in the middle are 6 of our students from Florida standing in front of a ginormous abacus that APH created. And that was at a banquet, a dinner that was held one evening. And the picture on the right, I had so many of these pictures, because like I said, about 5 of our students placed in the top 3. So there's a picture of a student holding his abacus with his arms in the air with the National Abacus-V coordinator at the awards ceremony. So they walked down a red carpet, and they were each introduced by name, and they sat in their category. And then all students, just like the India competition that you saw, all students received a medal for participating, and then some of them received prizes for the top 3. So it was just really incredible. They all felt like celebrities and were recognized, and really just talked about how much they love math. And one of the girls said, I saw her at the airport, that she wished there was an Abacus-V every day. Some quotes that the APH got from the participants, these are from parents and students. In the past 2 years of participating in the Abacus-V, I have definitely noticed a positive change in my son's attitude towards math. He is more confident and seems to recognize his gift more readily, and is thinking about ways that he can use it in his future career. I met other students and liked how everyone got an award. I used a great mental math strategy that helped me to do great in the oral space race round. That was a student. Thank you for offering this event. It has instilled a great deal of confidence in my son and has definitely inspired his interests and abilities in math. And that's from a parent. I love the Abacus-V. My favorite part was meeting new friends. That was from a student. And that is at our regional events as well as the national. Like, kids become what looks like lifelong friends. They'll be attached at the hip. They're so excited to see each other, and just they make friends all over the country, which is just what kids are doing now, especially with social media. For me personally, this shared experience with my granddaughter truly opened my eyes to the challenges she faces now and will carry throughout life, but also all the massively inspiring young people and volunteers I met. This was a humbling experience, and so grateful I was able to attend. That's from a grandparent. And we have a lot of these similar, if you go to our website, we have a lot of similar quotes from parents after our regional events in Florida. So it really does, participating in these types of events, it just gives students so much confidence, and just the social interactions that they have and the friendships and relationships that they develop are really life-changing. Yes, so Valeria, I have lots of resources at the end that we're going to go over. I'll give you some ideas and suggestions for. So our Florida APH Abacus Math Bee, so we call it the Abacus Math Bee because just want folks to know it's a math competition, and they don't have to use the abacus to participate. So we host a regional Abacus Bee for school-age students who are visually impaired. They're not competing against grade level, they're competing against students at their math level. So there is a placement test that teachers or parents should administer before they register, and it will decide one of 6 categories that students will be placed in. But this competition allows for mental math, finger math, use of manipulatives, and of course the abacus. Students compete against contestants from other regional events for a spot at the national competition. So they are they have a chance to earn first, second, or third place in the Florida competition, but they're also competing for a chance to go to the national competition. We offer lots of hands-on educational STEM activities in the morning for students and families to do together. And so they'll be related to the theme. And there's a family workshop that's related to a STEM topic that while students are off testing, parents and family members can learn about different math concepts and accommodations, or sometimes learning how to do the abacus. And all students receive a t-shirt, a goodie bag with lots of goodies and trinkets inside, and usually a book that's related to our theme. Last year, all students received the, no, I can't remember, Touch the Stars from National Braille Press. And then we have prizes, first, second, third place prizes at the awards ceremony, and they all receive a certificate and a medal. So it's definitely a fun day. It's a long day, but it's for the whole family. Parents are welcome to join, even if they don't have students who are competing. So because we have a parent workshop, the kids that are, if kids are not participating or competing in an abacus bee, parents can still attend the parent workshop. So please encourage any parents that you have that would like to learn more about science, technology, engineering, and math topics for students with visual impairments, that they can also register for just the workshop. So we don't have activities for their kids. They can come to the workshop as well. Are they just for parents? Oh, so thank you, Andrea. That was a good question. And here are some pictures from our 2 Florida Abacus Math Bees. So we've done 2 so far. The first one was in Winter Haven in Polk County. The second was in Brevard County in Melbourne. And now we are holding our 3rd regional Abacus Math Bee in Jacksonville at the University of North Florida. So we're hoping that we're kind of able to reach folks from all over the state. University of North Florida has a wonderful venue. It's going to be on a Saturday, so hopefully we'll make travel easier. We provide breakfast and snacks, or breakfast refreshments in the morning, and we provide lunch for everybody, for all who are attending. So we have a student, oh, and if you volunteer, we need lots and lots of volunteers. You do not have to have a student competing, and you can volunteer for our events. It would be a great way just to learn more about how the day goes, what's expected. When you see what's happening, you can go back and tell your students and tell the parents that you work with, oh, wow, this was really exciting. This is what the kids did. I think you'd really like this. And we always need volunteers. There are only a handful of us from FIMC, so we can't possibly proctor all the tests, guide all the students, serve all the food, set up all the decorations, run the workshops, keep everybody moving. So none of these events happen without teachers, paraprofessionals, college students. We have retired teachers that will come and volunteer. Anyone who's available, we'd love to have you. So again, if you don't have students registering, your parents can still attend. You can still attend to volunteer. And we might put you in a rocket costume. So this was a big hit. One of our volunteer teachers wore a rocket costume, and the students were so excited. She buzzed around the room and they got to check it out. We have a picture of the Abacus Bee medals that all the students received. They're very, very heavy. The kids thought that was really cool. They're solid medals that APH provided. In the bottom left, there's a picture of a student wearing a little bobblehead band with a planet and a rocket ship. We try to give out decorations or headgear, hats, things that students can wear that are related to the theme. And she made a rocket kebab. So that was one of the morning activities that they used, cut up slices of fruit and had to follow instructions in print or braille to make a little snack. But it was shaped like a rocket ship when it was finished. We have in the bottom middle screen a student, this was his second time competing, or sorry, this was the first one. But both of these all the students that are pictured individually here have been to the finals. But this little guy is standing and waving, very excited. His family and TVI are in the background smiling. In the bottom right picture, we have the APH Abacus-V logo on a screen behind all of our students. I think there are 14 students that participated last year from all over the state, and they're holding their certificates and their little space trophies after the closing award ceremony. Yay, and Tiffany is putting some registration links in the box. It's also on our website. Okay, so now what? So what to do? Learned about this tool, or you've been reminded about this great tool, or you now have students that you think, oh yeah, they would be appropriate for this. So for those of you who are already teaching this tool and have students working on it, keep doing it and keep reinforcing it. Incorporate it in as many activities as you can, and really encourage them to use it during their math classes, to set numbers, to do small equations, to do portions, operations of a larger, more complex operation. Keep them, just keep their skills up. You can introduce this tool, the Abacus, to all of students on your caseload. We're going to see a website in a little bit. This is a perspective of a TVI who said, just like me, that she really only kind of thought the Abacus was for students who are blind, and she started using it with a child that has multiple disabilities, and she just said it changed their life. They also, APH makes what's called the expanded beginners abacus. So somebody mentioned the beginners abacus before, which used to only have the ones and tens column. The expanded beginners column, or abacus, goes up to the hundreds place value. So there's no more beginners abacus. It's now just the expanded beginners. So for some students, that would be a great place to start. If you have young children, I would even start in pre-K with any kids. It's just the beads move up and down. You're working on fine motor skills. You can work on that rote counting. You can work on one-to-one correspondence. You can really just get them used to this as a tool and something that's going to be useful as they grow. In kindergarten, you can start formal instruction and seeing how you can make the ones exchanges for a 10. As students, they're going to go as far, you're going to go as far as your students. So eventually they're going to outgrow the hundreds. They're going to need a thousands column. But even before then, you can start introducing it. You transition to the Cranmer abacus, which has the 4 beads on the bottom and the 1 5 bead on the top. But see where your students go. A lot of them will just take to it, and there are different methods to teach them. So you have to find what's right for them. Decide if it's the expanded beginners abacus for maybe students who are really young, who are just beginning, students that have maybe a learning disability or intellectual disability. Maybe they have multiple disabilities and they're having difficulty with the fine motor movements. The expanded beginners abacus is a little bit bigger, so that might be a good one to start with. Students who already have math skills, or they're on grade level, if they are just elementary, middle, high school, you're going to want to use the Cranmer abacus because it's going to have more functionality, and they're going to be able to do a lot more complex math with that. You want to instill high expectations, high math expectations in your students. That was one thing that I also learned about early on, is that often students, they'll take on whatever our perceptions are. If we're not good at something, then they're gonna maybe not be so good at it, because maybe we're not teaching them as we should. But also, if they're not expected to do well, if we let them listen to people who say, well, math is hard, math is visual, math is hard for somebody who's visually impaired because it's so visual. Well, then of course the kids are gonna kind of be, well, nobody expects me to do it, so why do I have to work so hard? And that's just very flawed logic. We want them to work harder because we expect that they can keep up at the same level as their peers and surpass their peers. There are many, many, many individuals out there with a visual impairment or any disability who surpass their peers. Our students don't have that option if we're not teaching them the tools to have that choice. So we definitely need to instill those high math expectations from the beginning, that it's not okay if something's visual. We need to figure out how to make it accessible for them. And explore readily available resources. Find out what works best for your students. I mean, we want to say, oh, what works best for us, but it really needs to be what works best for our students. So we have to figure out what resources are going to work for us to teach to our students that meet their needs. So I have two pages or 2 slides of resources that you can go through. One, the Abacus, the underutilized math tool. And this is from a Perkins site. And this was the one, the teacher, it was the perspective of, I never used the Abacus. I only used it for certain students. And then I started looking into it, and she has probably a lot of similar frustrations that some of us have, that there's inconsistency of instructional methods. There are different ways to teach the Abacus. You've got the counting method that might be better for students that are just getting started, who are having difficulty with number operations and processing. But if that's an easier method for us as a teacher to use, that might not be the best method for our students. Students who are going to be on grade level, who are just progressing and doing more complicated math, they will need to learn what's known as either the logics method, the doing synthesis, indirect addition, subtraction. I met a teacher that likes to call it the shortcuts. So they're going to need to get a little more advanced. That means we need to get a little more advanced. So there are lots and lots of videos and materials out there. This teacher compiled videos that she felt were that made the most sense for her. So here's one website that you can start with. And the videos are great because they always show the Abacus from our vantage point, so you can see what they're doing and how the beads are moving. And you can stop and start them, so you can watch it over and over and over again. We've got another one, Math Literacy by Paths to Literacy site. This one has just more resources, talks about a mathlete competition that you can get your students involved in. Math videos from the Texas School for the Blind and Visually Impaired has a lot of Abacus videos on that. And there are just different ideas for math lessons. So lots of hands-on learning that our students need. So it's not just Abacus related, but more math stuff. Let's see, Iowa Educational Services for the Blind and Visually Impaired. Their math resources site has a whole page dedicated to the Abacus. So more Abacus resources, the types of Abacuses, and then the videos. So the training videos are also really, really helpful. They go step-by-step introduction of the Abacus, the parts of the Abacus, setting numbers, clearing, and then just basic adding and subtracting. And it continues to more complex. The math videos from the Texas School for the Blind and Visually Impaired, Susan Osterhaus has a lot on here for math, and shows you how to do prime factorization, has videos on getting started with the counting method and more sophisticated techniques. And then while you're here, check out the other math resources. Project Math Access. These are a little bit older, but the Abacus has not changed. And then it also introduces the secrets method. So for some students, that might be a little bit easier. But all these, again, these are different things that teachers, you want to just kind of research and see which one's making sense to you that you're able to explain and now teach to your students. If they're not getting it, it could just be try a different method. But stick with something. Don't throw out like 5 different ways to do the same thing. Let's give them a chance to get started and see how they go. I put a link on here also to the statewide assessments and accommodations guide. And this is just so that you have access to it quickly, but it talks about how the Abacus is an approved an approved accommodation. So along with the graphic aid for mathematics and the math window and the geo board. So they're approved substitutes for paper and pencil calculation. So another reason to start teaching your students how to use this. They can use it on statewide tests. APH has a lot of resources as well. They have an app, a free app, Practice to Master Abacus app. And this works best if you have an abacus, especially if your students using it, have an abacus in front of you to follow along with. But it will just, if you just click along, it gives you introductory lessons, addition, subtraction, drill lessons. So that could be something just kind of fun on the go. The Abacus, A Million Manipulatives in Your Pocket. This is a Hive course from APH. So when you go to the site, you can search A Million Manipulatives in Your Pocket under the search box, or you can scroll down until you find the math session, A Million Manipulatives in Your Pocket. So this just is a course that you can enroll in to give foundational mathematics skills, instruction of the abacus with addition and subtraction using complementary numbers, adaptations of math equations, strategies for teaching school-age children who are blind or low vision. So this could be really helpful if you're just getting started teaching the abacus. And then for something more, for higher level math, they did webinars this summer, one on multiplication. So abacus multiplication to perfection. And then they did Abacus Divide and Conquer. So math is fun. We have all kinds of cool puns and things that we can, incorporate. And yes, Tiffany noticed it was a 10-credit course. So some of these you can get a lot of in-service points for. Abacus Basic Competency. So this is an instruction booklet that APH produces. It's called Abacus Basic Competency Accounting Method. So the counting method is, it's a good way to get started and just kind of get used to the abacus and the process and see how it works. And it's, Mandy said it's a good book. But you'll probably see your students will start finding their own shortcuts. And they'll start to see like, oh, this is taking pretty long. Is there a faster way to do this? They might develop it on their own. So keep an eye out for that, because those are the students that you really want to show them the shortcuts method or the indirect and how to do the synthesis. So a lot of those, it's all interchangeable, those words, but they all kind of mean the same thing. They're doing exchanges to do faster math on the abacus. And some kids, like the counting method is what they're gonna stick with, and it's gonna be successful for them. And otherwise they might not have success in math. And so that's why I keep saying you have to find what works for your students. The Expanded Beginners Abacus Kit from APH. So if you are just getting started, you have a young student, you want to order the Expanded Beginners Abacus Kit, or a student who is they're not on academic grade level and maybe they're struggling, this might be a good one to start with. So this comes with the abacus as well as the instruction manual. You can order each of these separately as well. But if it's your first time ordering, you might want to get both together. APH also, you can purchase just the Cranmer abacus itself. They have a large one, which is a teaching abacus, and then they have a smaller one. So bigger is not always better. The smaller version might be, or the regular size version might be better for your students because they have everything right under their fingertips. Some people like the larger one. If you have students that have maybe some fine motor issues, or students who are low vision, they might want the larger beads or the larger abacus, but then it's also going to make more head sweeps. So you could order one of each, and again, just see what works best for your students. The APH also has this manual, the Abacus Made Easy. It's so easy that you just have to click on the link and you have it. You don't have to order it. You don't have to request it. You don't have to fill out a form. Just go to the site and it's a download. So they have now made this book as a download, the Abacus Made Easy. So I used this one at one point. And everybody's going to find what makes sense or what works one way or another. So give it a try, see how this goes. It's right here. You don't have to wait for it to come to you. My favorite book for teaching the abacus, it's no longer in print, but if you email me, I can get you a copy of it. It's called the use of the Cranmer Abacus by Rita Livingston. So Texas School for the Blind used to produce that, but it has all the problems broken down so that you know when you need to do direct or indirect addition, subtraction, when you're doing synthesis or double synthesis. It gives you all the problems in different sections so that you can give students problems that are at their level, that they're not going to come and run across any surprises that they don't know how to do. And it gives you a really nice, a nice script to do this, then this, then this, then this. Ask yourself, can I set a 5 bead here? No, I cannot. And so then it kind of just gives you a really nice kind of fill in the blank of how to do the different bead play movements. And like I said, you just have to find out what works best for you. Okay, and so remember, closing, keep it short and sweet and on hand. So this is one thing that when I was teaching the abacus, I could just keep it in my pocket, or keep it in a bag, keep it in a purse. When I would do field trips with students, if we're waiting for the bus to arrive, if we're on the bus, if we're waiting for just any kind of downtime, it was just a great chance to pull out the abacus and just do a little bit of practice. So spend a few minutes on the abacus every time you meet with your student. You don't have to have a 20, 30, 40-minute lesson on the abacus. Their brains will burn out. You could do this, think about 7-minute abacus, and come up with just fun activities, or just get started, pick up from the day before. So if somebody can build 7-minute abs, then we can definitely build 7-minute abacus instruction for our students. It only takes a few minutes a day. When students are usually coming to you, they've got a lot on their mind and things are happening. You don't just sit down and jump right into your big lesson. So this could be a good way to kind of get some of that energy out. It's a kinesthetic movement. So they're using their fingers, and it can kind of help warm up their brain as well. But focus on one concept at a time. You don't go into it ready to teach all of addition up to 7-digit add-ins. Just one thing at a time. Maybe your first part is just teaching the parts of the abacus and letting them explore and let them play with the beads. Put a rubber mat on the table so it doesn't slide around, or put some kind of shelf liner or rubber matting, just glue it or stick it to the back of the abacus so whatever surface they're using, it doesn't move around. Teach them place value and review place value every day. Teach them setting and clearing. So you can spend a few minutes every day just on the basics until you really start getting into it, and then start going into adding and do small numbers. Have them add different things around how many animals they have, how many people are in their family, how many Brussels sprouts they did not eat for lunch, whatever fun little things that you can come up with that they can set on the abacus, and then have them add to that. And even once you start getting a little more complicated, really 5 to 10 minutes, a little bit every day, and lots of repetition, so that it stays fresh, even if you're not going into the math class with them. Tiffany's got, oh good, Tiffany's put our handouts in there for you, so you have all this at your fingertips. Keep an abacus on hand again, so just take advantage of any kind of unexpected time. Maybe you're waiting, you finish your Braille lesson, or you finish the electronic magnification lesson, and you've just got a few minutes before the bell rings. Pull out the abacus. You're waiting for students, let's say you brought them back to class and the class hasn't returned yet, they're running late, or they made a stop off somewhere. So pull out the abacus. You can use it in the hallway, you can use it at their desk, you can use it pretty much anywhere. If you're waiting with students for the bus line or the car line, have them practice. If you're going on a field trip, Tiffany says it'd be fun to have the kids in the class using it too, like math centers or during indoor recess time. They can use it to keep score. Abacus is for everyone. And I'm glad you said that, because I put that in my notes. The classroom teachers would love you if you took other students with you to do abacus lessons, because truly this tool is for everyone. It's going to help all children develop those mental math skills and make them more proficient. Just learning the place value alone They've got this right in their hands. When I used to teach children in primary grades, pre-kindergarten, kindergarten, they'd have the numbers board and they would do every day. This is the 36th day of school. This is the 110th day of school. And they would get the straws, and one student would come up and they put a straw in the ones pocket. And then when they got a group, they would bundle it and they would put the 10 bundle in the tens pocket. And then when they got enough of the tens, they would make that into the hundreds. Well, my students who are visually impaired or blind, they only got to do that maybe a few times a semester when it was their turn to go up to the board. So every other time that kids are going up there and moving the straws, all the kids, incidental learning, all the kids in the class are watching those straws. They're watching all the straws go into the pocket of ones. They're watching 10 of those straws get taken out and moved to the pocket that says tens. And they're seeing how the number is building underneath of it, what the tens and the ones column looks like. The student who can't see that, they only get to experience it that 1 or 2 times that they go up to the board and do it themselves. And so I would recreate that board into a notebook. And so that my student was doing it every time at the same time as their peers. Having an abacus is something, it's just right there. Right, low vision students, all students with visual impairments are missing out on those visual concepts that are taking place far, far away. But having that tool, having that abacus right there with them, there's so many opportunities for them to count, to do the math, to see it happen, to see it move, and to see those exchanges. We just got to get it to them. Ta-da. So some more next steps. Good news, it's not too late to register for the 2024 Florida Abacus Math Bee. So our deadline is Monday, September 9th. You can visit our Abacus Bee events page for the parent registration form. And there is a placement test to help determine what category level the student should be testing in. And all the formats are available on our website. It comes in print, it comes in UEB or Nemeth that can be embossed. And for some teachers will read the problems to their students orally just to get them a good idea of what category they should be in. But there is definitely still time to get your students signed up. And we'd love to have more. We'd love to see this grow. Because like we said, just the feedback that we get from students and parents is just overwhelmingly positive about the confidence that it builds in their kids, letting students know, oh, maybe, they might start considering math as careers after they see that I can do math, or it's a lot easier and more confident. So the positives are just endless. If you want to just come as a teacher and see what it's all about, we would love to have you volunteer. Volunteers need to register by September 20th. And there are 2 students here pictured that they didn't know each other, but they've met at other events. And now when they see each other, they want to, they just immediately go to each other. We've seen parents hugging each other when they come through the door because they live across the state, and kids that run up to each other because they haven't seen them since the last event. So they just have so many great memories and interactions from the events. Okay, and if you have any questions, you can contact any of us. I oversee the student and family events. So if you have questions about the Abacus Bee or any of our Florida King Quest or Florida Braille Challenge events, you can reach out to me, but you can also contact Elizabeth Anderson, our supervisor, Tiffany Conrad, our coordinator. And FIMC has moved. We've moved again, but we love our new home, and our phone number is the same. If you're not getting our visual field newsletter, you can complete the sign up form. And always go to our website. We have lots and lots of stuff on our website and our YouTube page, but updates coming all the time. Ta-da. And the Abacus Bee, oh yeah, just a reminder, it's in Jacksonville this year, University of Jacksonville. It's a beautiful campus, beautiful facilities, free parking on Saturday, and it'll be a gorgeous day and lots of fun. Ta-da. So we have any questions? I can stick around for questions. Yes, and I believe Tiffany sent the link to the PowerPoint that I just did, right, Tiffany? So if you copy that link, you can get all of the resources right there. And then they're all links that you can just click on. Yeah, so shop around and you'll find more. There's more, there's so many more. So you'll find others, but these were just some that that we found helpful to get started for sure. Yeah, no worries. And this will be recorded and posted on our website under past events along with the handout.
I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording now, Sue.